They said my mother's death was an accident. So was mine, until my stepfather's wedding video proved otherwise. Just before you continue to watch, please subscribe to this channel and like this video. It would encourage and help us keep creating amazing content for you. All right, back to the story. Looking back, the signs were always there. I just didn't know how to read them. I didn't want to. I was 25 and my world had already cracked in half when my mother died. I was just trying to hold the pieces together. The day the betrayal started, I was sitting in a leather chair so expensive it felt like it was trying to swallow me. The lawyer's office smelled like old paper and lemon polish. Mr. Harrison, my mother's attorney, slid a folder across the mahogany desk. "Your mother's estate is, substantial, Lily," he said, adjusting his glasses. "After all debts are settled, the total inheritance transferring to you is $11,240,000. I just stared. I couldn't process the number. All I could see was my mother's face, her laugh lines, the way she smelled like gardenias. But I wasn't alone. My stepfather, Victor, was sitting next to me, his hand on my back, rubbing soothing circles. He'd been my mother's husband for 8 years. He was all charm, tailored suits, and a voice that could sell sand in the desert. He squeezed my shoulder. "It's a lot to take in, sweetie," he said, his voice dripping with sympathy. He turned to the lawyer. "Mr. Harrison, obviously Lily is in no state to manage this. We'll need to set up a trust, with me as the administrator, just to handle the burden of it all." "We?" I said. My voice was quiet, but it cut through the smell of polish. Victor chuckled, a warm, patronizing sound. "Lily, of course. This is family money. Your mother would have wanted me to protect it. To protect you." Mr. Harrison cleared his throat. "Actually, Victor, Eleanor was quite specific. The inheritance is solely for Lily. Her control is absolute, effective today." Victor's smile didn't falter, but his eyes went flat, cold. The hand on my back stopped rubbing. It just rested there, a weight. "That's, unconventional," he said. "It's what she wanted," I said. I looked at the lawyer. "I'll be managing my own affairs." The ride home was silent. He lived in the big house, the one he'd shared with my mom. I was still in my old apartment downtown. He insisted on driving me. "We need to talk," he'd said. But we didn't talk. He just drove, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. When he pulled up to my curb, he turned to me. The mask was back on. "I know you're grieving, Lily," he said, his voice so reasonable, "but you're being emotional. You don't understand the complexities here. This kind of money, it attracts sharks. You need me." "No, I don't," I said. "It's my mother's money. It's mine. I don't need you to manage it." I got out of the car. I didn't look back. That, I see now, was my first mistake. 2 days later, my brakes failed. I was on Highway 84, heading to my friend Maya's house for the weekend. We were going to go through my mom's things, try to make sense of the new, silent world I lived in. I was in the fast lane. A deer, or maybe just a shadow, darted onto the road. I tapped the brake. Nothing. I pumped it. Still nothing. The pedal went straight to the floor, soft and useless. My heart jumped into my throat. I yanked the emergency brake. The car shrieked, a high-pitched metal scream, and spun out of control. It hit the guardrail, bounced off, and rolled. I remember the sound of glass breaking, the smell of gasoline and burning rubber, the world turning upside down, over and over. Then, silence and pain. When I woke up, the world was white. Beeping sounds, a tube down my throat. My head felt like it was full of wet cement. And Victor was there. He was sitting in a chair by the bed, his face a mask of perfect, rehearsed grief. When my eyes fluttered open, he was on his feet, his hand on my arm. "Oh, Lily, thank God," he whispered. He was crying. Real tears. I tried to speak, but the tube choked me. "Shh, don't try to talk," he soothed. "You were in a terrible accident. Your car, it was totaled. The police said the brake line just gave out. A freak accident." He smiled, but the smile didn't reach his cold, assessing eyes. "You just rest, sweetie. I'll handle everything." The police believed him. My friends believed him. My family, what was left of it, believed him. He was the grieving widower, now nearly losing his stepdaughter too. He was the perfect combination of charm and menace. He paid my hospital bills. He told the doctors I was fragile and prone to hysterics. I was trapped. I was in a hospital bed with a broken leg, 3 cracked ribs, and a concussion. I couldn't even accuse him. Who would believe me, the hysterical 25-year-old girl or the charming, wealthy, concerned stepfather? He had all the power. He controlled the narrative. He controlled the estate, which he'd managed to get temporarily frozen by a judge, citing my instability after the accident. He had the money, the status, the connections. I had nothing. Just a growing, sickening certainty in the pit of my stomach.
Recovery was a special kind of hell. Physical therapy was agony. My leg throbbed. My ribs ached with every breath. But that was nothing compared to the psychological trap I was in. Victor had me moved from the hospital to the guest house on my mother's property. "For your safety," he'd said, "so I can keep an eye on you." It was a prison. A beautiful, beige prison with high thread count sheets. He would visit every day. He'd bring me soup, he'd read to me, and he'd always bring the papers. "Lily, just sign here," he'd say, his voice like honey. "Let me take this burden off you. You're not built for this. You're too fragile." He didn't just underestimate me, he dismissed me. I was a child, a broken doll. One day, he sat on the edge of my bed. "You know, your mother, she understood. She knew I was better at these things. She trusted me." A memory surfaced. My mom, about a year ago. We were having lunch. She'd seemed stressed, distracted. Victor is so intense lately. He's reinvesting again. He hates when I ask questions. At the time, I'd brushed it off. "He's a finance guy, Mom. That's what they do." She looked at me, a strange, sad look in her eyes. "Yes, I suppose it is." He thought I was weak. He thought I was stupid. And for a while, I almost believed him. I was broke. The $11 million was a fantasy, locked away behind a wall of lawyers Victor controlled. My car was gone, my body was broken, I had no options. I almost gave up. Then, I found the box. It was in the back of the guest house closet behind a stack of old linens. My mother's old writing desk, a mahogany monstrosity I'd always hated. I was looking for a blanket when I bumped it. A piece of the trim came loose. Behind it wasn't a hidden panel, it was a false bottom. Inside, wrapped in oilcloth, was a stack of letters, a prepaid burner phone still in the box, a USB drive, and a small, leather-bound ledger. My mother, it turned out, wasn't just a rich wife. Before she met Victor, she was a forensic accountant. My hands shook as I opened the first letter, her handwriting. October 10. Victor is reinvesting again. He's furious I asked for the statements. He told me I was being emotional. November 2. He's moving money into offshore accounts. I saw the transfers. When I confronted him, he laughed. He told me I was cute when I played accountant. December 1. I'm scared. I told him no about the new lake house. He just smiled. That night I was driving home and my car, it felt strange. The brakes. I took it to a mechanic I trust. He said the line looked nicked.
My blood went cold. I read on. My mother hadn't been a passive victim. She'd been building a case. The ledger was filled with account numbers, transfer dates, and dollar amounts. He'd already siphoned off more than $1 million before she died. The USB drive? I plugged it into my laptop. It was a mirror of his hard drive. Emails, scanned documents, a video file. I clicked it. It was from a nanny cam she'd set up in his home office. Victor was on the phone. Yes, the policy is $5 million, but if it's an accident, it's double indemnity, he was saying. He laughed. Don't worry, she's a terrible driver. The accident that killed her, the one I'd always questioned, the one he'd profited from so handsomely. He didn't just kill her, he planned it. And then he tried to kill me. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about justice. My earned advantage wasn't just the $11 million. It was my mother's blood running in my veins. She'd taught me to be meticulous, to keep receipts. And my own past, I wasn't just an art history major, I'd minored in finance. And my job for the past 3 years, I worked for a small tech firm. My title was internal comms, but what I really did was AV, event planning, and data management. I knew my way around a server. I knew how to edit video. He thought I was a fragile little girl. He forgot who my mother was. He forgot I was her daughter. I knew what I had to do. First, I had to get out. The burner phone my mom left had a note, a bank account in Switzerland. Seed money. $50,000. I called a cab, left the guest house, and never looked back. I moved into a tiny, anonymous apartment across town. I bought a new laptop, paid in cash. I hired a private investigator. Not a flashy one. Her name was Sarah, an ex-Mossad, no-nonsense woman my mother had recommended in her notes. I met her in a diner that smelled like stale coffee. I put the USB drive on the table. He's careful, I said. He's charming. Everyone believes him. Sarah didn't even smile. She just picked up the drive. Charm is a tool. He's sloppy. They all are. They get arrogant. She was right. 2 weeks later, Victor announced his engagement. He was marrying a 22-year-old model named Chloe. He was posting it all over social media. Him, her, the 10-carat diamond ring he'd bought with my mother's money. He was throwing a lavish wedding at the St. Regis, the most expensive venue in the state. And the centerpiece of the reception? A huge 20-foot LED screen to play his biography. The arrogance. Sarah found the wedding planners. Lux Events. This is where my useless job skills came in. I created a fake AV company, Aperture Visuals. I built a website. I faked a portfolio, and I underbid for the St. Regis wedding contract. I knew exactly what software they used, what cables they'd need, what the profit margin was. My bid was so professional, so perfect, they didn't even question it. They hired me. We'll be handling the Life of Victor presentation, I told the perky wedding planner. But I needed more. The nanny cam video was damning, but it was circumstantial. I needed something that tied him to my accident. I called Maya, my friend, whose house I'd been driving to. Maya, you were following me that night, right? We were going to Caravan. Yeah, until you, well, you know, she said. Your dash cam, was it on? Lily, the car was totaled. It's in an impound lot. I know, I said. Sarah's already on her way. Sarah's team acquired the SD card from the wreckage. The footage was corrupted. My heart sank. But then I got to work. I'm not a hacker, not really, but I'm good with data recovery. For 3 straight days, I sat in my crappy apartment, running software, piecing together corrupted code, frame by frame. I was working on it when my power went out. Just gone. I panicked. I grabbed my laptop, ran to the Starbucks down the street, and sat there for 6 hours, nursing one latte, praying the file wasn't lost. I must have looked insane. A woman in sweats, muttering to herself, on the verge of tears. I was running the recovery software, watching the green bar crawl across the screen, my entire future balanced on a stale scone and a prayer. And then, I got it. The file restored. 7:14 p.m., the night before my trip. The footage was grainy, from Maya's car, parked across the street from my apartment. A figure in a dark hoodie walks up to my car. My car. The light from the garage lamp hits his face. Victor. He knelt by the front wheel. He was holding something. A pair of pliers. He snipped. A clear liquid, brake fluid, dripped onto the pavement. He stood up, looked around, and walked away. He had tried to kill me, and I had the tape. I didn't just save it. I enhanced it. I cleaned the audio. I circled his face. I took the footage to a detective, not the local cops, Detective Miles, state police. My mother's notes had his name. He owes me a favor, she'd written. Miles was a big man, looked like he'd seen everything. He was skeptical. Miss Vance, Lily, this is a serious accusation. Your stepfather is a very respected man. My mother trusted you, I said. I slid the laptop across his desk and pressed play. He watched it. His face didn't change. He watched it again, then a third time. He looked up at me. Your mother was a hell of a woman. She pulled my brother out of a bad financial mess. I'll look into this. He did more than look. With the dashcam footage as probable cause, he got a warrant. They found the tools in the back of Victor's garage, tucked away, my brake fluid on them. They found the financial records, the offshore accounts. They found he'd bought the tools with cash at a hardware store 50 miles away, 2 days before my crash. The case was a slam dunk. But I had a request. The wedding, I told Miles. It's tomorrow. He's a flight risk. All his assets are liquid. If he gets spooked, he'll be in the Cayman Islands before you can sign the warrant. Miles looked at me. You want us to arrest him at his wedding? I want you to be at the wedding, I said. So when he does try to run, you'll be there. He nodded, a slow, grim smile. I think that can be arranged. The wedding was a monument to bad taste and stolen money. White roses dripping from every surface, a string quartet playing Vivaldi. The bride, Chloe, looked like a child playing dress-up, her eyes wide and terrified. And I was there, in the back, at the AV control table. I wore the all-black uniform of the event staff. Headset, clipboard. I was invisible. Victor? He was radiant. He was the king. He even walked by my table. He didn't even look at me. He just saw a worker. Make sure it's perfect, kid, he said, patting me on the shoulder. The casual, condescending arrogance. He didn't even recognize me. Yes, sir, I said, my voice flat. The lights dimmed. The ceremony was over. The champagne was flowing. The best man finished his speech. And now, the wedding planner chirped, Victor wanted to share a little about his journey, a life of love, loss, and new beginnings. The huge LED screen lit up. The file I was supposed to play, the one his team had sent over, was on my screen. Victor_bio.final.mp4. The file I was playing was titled thetruth.mp4. My hand was steady on the mouse. I clicked play. It started normally. Puffy, curated photos. Victor as a child. Victor at college. Victor, mourning my mother. A picture of him looking sad at her funeral. But Victor's story isn't just about his own success, a smooth voiceover began. My voice, digitally altered but cold and clear. It's about his management. The screen cut to black.
Then the dashcam footage filled the 20-foot screen. 7:14 p.m., the grainy but clear image of my car, the dark hoodie. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The figure turned. The garage light hit his face. Victor. His new bride, Chloe, put her hand to her mouth. Victor, what is that? On screen, he knelt. He pulled out the pliers. He snipped the brake line. The sound, enhanced, echoed through the silent ballroom. That, my voiceover said, was the night before my accident. Victor was on his feet. What is this? Turn it off. Turn it off. He looked to the back of the room. He was searching for the AV tech. And he saw me. I took off my headset. I just looked at him. His face. I will never forget his face. It went from confusion to rage to a pure, bottomless animal fear. He knew. He knew he was trapped. But the story starts earlier, my voice cooed from the speakers. The screen cut again, this time to the nanny cam footage. Victor, on the phone. If it's an accident, it's double indemnity. His new father-in-law stood up. Victor, what the hell is this? And what about the money? My voice asked. The screen filled with the bank statements from my mother's ledger, the offshore accounts, the transfers, the dates, the dollars. $1.2 million, siphoned before her death. Then the final slide, scans of my mother's letters, her elegant, looping handwriting, now 20 feet tall. I'm scared. He's furious I asked for the statements. He told me I was cute when I played accountant. I'm scared. Victor bolted. He didn't run for the AV booth. He ran for the exit. He shoved a bridesmaid. He knocked over a champagne tower. But I'd planned for that. As he hit the main doors, they swung open. 2 uniformed officers stood there. Detective Miles was right behind them. Victor Vance, you're under arrest for the attempted murder of Lily Vance and on suspicion of the murder of Eleanor Vance. The fallout was immediate. Chloe fainted. Her parents were screaming about their money. The guests, the 1%ers, the pillars of the community, they were all filming. His entire life, his reputation, his carefully constructed world, it all evaporated in the flash of an iPhone camera. As they cuffed him, he looked back at me. His eyes were pure, uncut hatred. He was a monster, finally unmasked. I didn't smile. I didn't cry. I just stood by my control table, calm, unshaken, and finally free. I pressed the button. The screen faded to black, leaving just one last image, a photo of my mother, smiling in her garden. Proof that the truth, no matter how long it's buried, always finds its way to light. The trial was a formality. The media called it the wedding takedown. Between the dashcam footage, the mannycam, the letters, the financial records, and the tools, he didn't stand a chance. Chloe's annulment was granted in record time, and she testified against him. He got life. No parole. The inheritance was unfrozen. The $11.2 million plus the $1.2 million he'd stolen returned with interest, plus damages. The house was mine. But it wasn't about the money. Not really. The thing that really broke him on the stand, it wasn't the videos. It was the letters. My mom's words. I watched him as the prosecutor read them. He'd built his whole life on being smarter than everyone, on his charm, and he was destroyed by a stack of paper and a $3 ballpoint pen. He'd been outsmarted by the 2 women he'd dismissed as emotional and fragile. After, the most unexpected thing happened. Support. My aunt, my mother's sister, who had told me I was being ungrateful to Victor, called me, sobbing. Lily, I'm so sorry. I believed him. Your mother, she would be so proud of you.
Maya, my friend, was with me every day of the trial. She held my hand when the verdict was read. Even Detective Miles. He'd stopped by my apartment after. "You did good, kid," he'd said, sipping the bad coffee I'd made him. "Your mom, she would have been a hell of a detective." It was hard. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. The nightmares, they still come sometimes. The sound of glass breaking, the smell of gasoline, but it was worth it. I sold the big house. Too many memories, too many ghosts. Sometimes when I hear glass break, I still flinch. But now I remember it differently. It's the sound of everything falling apart, so something stronger could stand. I live in a new apartment now, overlooking the city. It's smaller, it's mine. I use the money to start a foundation, the Eleanor Vance Foundation. We provide legal aid and financial counseling for women trying to escape abusive and controlling relationships. We teach them how to find the false bottoms, how to keep the receipts. My phone rang. It was Sarah. "Our first case," she said. "A woman in Ohio, husband's managing her inheritance. Sound familiar?" I looked out my window at the city lights. "Book me a flight," I said, "and tell her to start gathering the evidence. We're going to burn his kingdom to the ground." If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like this video, comment, and smash the subscribe button. Also, check out other videos on the channel. We've got more interesting stories for you.